Hey guys, so I just did my entire video and it was not recording. So I'm confirming now we are definitely recording and we're going to try this again. Okay. Take 2. All right. So you have your test tomorrow over scatter plots. I think you guys are going to do really great. Y'all have done really well the past couple of days on our review. I know we had winter break in between and a really fun snow day, but y'all have done great. Y'all bounced back. I think we're going to be good to go. So make sure you watch this tonight. Make sure you're ready tomorrow. When you get here tomorrow, use your test-taking strategies. Okay, so make sure you read each question carefully. Make sure you eliminate answer choices that don't make sense. Make sure you pay attention to vocabulary. We've done a lot with that. Okay, and then I think you guys will do great. All right, so this first one, it asks you to label the graphs as positive association, no association, or negative association. All right, so if you remember, just making sure we're still recording. If you remember, okay, another word for association is correlation. Okay, we also talk about trends, right? When we did the thing the other day on the computer, it had no trend, so like no pattern, okay? But correlation and association, those words are interchangeable, right? We can use them for the other, they mean the same thing, all right? So we're talking about positive association or negative association. We're also talking about positive correlation or negative correlation. Or if there's no correlation, no association, no trend, no relationship, okay? Let's look at this first one. All right, well, when I read my graph, remember we read it just like a sentence, left to right. So if I were to draw a line, look at my pattern. What do we notice about my line? It's going down. So what do we call a line that's going down? Negative association, right? Or negative correlation. Okay? All right, let's look at this next one. Well, what's happening here? These points are just all over the place, right? So what do we call that? No trend, no correlation, or no association. All right. And over here, read it left to right. What do we notice? It's going up. So it's going up. It has a positive association. Okay? Just remember and make sure you're always reading it left to right, just like you would a sentence. Okay? All right. Next one, which is the most appropriate line of best fit. All right, remember, line of best fit is exactly what it says. It's the line that fits the data best. Okay? It's not perfect, but it's the most appropriate because the world's not perfect and our scatter plots represent real life data. Okay? So, we're looking for the line that fits the graph the best. So let's look at this first one. Here we go. Here's my line. Okay. All right. But notice my data point, my scatter plots are all down here. Okay? So is that a very good representation of the data? No. Okay? It doesn't really line up very well. All right? Well, look at this one. Here we go. We got our line. All right? Well, now you can see we got some points above. We got some points below. We got some points on the line. And all my data falls where my line is, right? So that looks pretty good. Let's just double check this last one. All right, well, we notice this line's going up again, but again, my data is all the way down here, okay? So this one and this one are definite, okay? But this green one, it looks like it fits pretty darn well. All right, so that is the most appropriate line of best fit. Remember, you want to have it right there in the middle. So you're going to have some points above, some points below, right along your data. All right, question 3. Okay, so if I look at my data here, it says, what type of relationship do we see between the number of hours studying, which is our X, and our quiz scores, which is our Y? Okay, well, if I look at my data here, I can tell it's going in what direction? It's going in the positive direction, right? So if I were to draw a line of best fit, it might look something kind of like that, right? Okay, so it's going up. It would have a positive correlation, okay? So we can go ahead and say, okay, well, we see that, so we know the answer isn't D, that says there's no relationship, because we just looked at it and said there's a positive relationship. We see that, okay? Then if you remember, our sentence should always be, remember our X comes first, as X does this, our Y does this. And when we talk about our X, we're always talking about X increasing, okay? So it's as our X increases, what does our Y do? Does our Y increase too? Or does our Y decrease, okay? So again, I can eliminate B because my decrease shouldn't be right there in the front. So it's not B, okay? So now, let's look at our graph again, and we already said this one is going up. It's positive. So which one of those words represents up? It would be increase, right? The word increase represents up or positive. Decrease would be our down or negative, right? So we can say, okay, well, it's got to be C because this one is increasing because it's a positive correlation. So as our X is increasing here, our Y is also increasing or increases. Sorry. All right, question 4. The scatter plot shows the number of days since grocery shopping and the amount spent on groceries, which is the most reasonable estimate. Okay, remember, reasonable estimate of the amount spent if it has been 10 days since going grocery shopping. Okay, so here we know my x-axis represents my days since shopping. My y-axis represents my money spent on groceries. So it's asking about, okay, well, what if my x equals 10? We're looking at 10 days. So I come here, and I'm going to say, okay, well, what would be a reasonable answer? All right, that would fall here at 10 days. Okay, well, if I were to draw a line of best fit, let's see. It might look something maybe like this, right? Okay. So let's say, okay, well, where does it fall on this line of 10? All right. Well, if I look about right here, okay, that would be, I don't know, about 240. Okay. Well, is 240 an answer choice? No. But what is an answer choice? 250. Very good. So let's just go through our answers and look. If I were to pick 50, that would be right here. Oh, sorry. That would be right here. Okay. Well, look how far away that is from my line. Okay. So that's not a very good answer choice. All right. Okay, well, what about 150? All right, well, that's a little bit closer. It's not horrible, but it's not great. All right, let's look at 250. Look how close that is. That's almost touching our line. Okay, so even though 150 wasn't horrible, I think 250 is going to be our winner. Let's look at 350. Well, 350 would be off the charts, right? Well, again, that's pretty far from our line, okay? So it says the most reasonable estimate. I think we can feel pretty confident that it is 250. Okay. All right, here we go. We went over this one in class, but go ahead, pay attention again. Let's make sure we're ready to go. First of all, I just want to label my graph, make sure I have everything set up appropriately. My x-axis here represents my days of winter break. We are counting just by ones. It goes 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 day. Okay. My y-axis is my minutes since playing, or the minutes I've played the video game. Well, what is it counting by? It's skip counting here by 20, right? We go 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120. Okay? So those are things we just want to keep in mind when we're working out our problems. So this first question asks about slope. Okay? Well, remember when we talk about slope, that's my M. It's my rise over run. Okay? And we're talking about our per, each, our every. It's our rate of change. So when it's a rate, we use those words, per, each, every, to help represent it. Our slope is not our initial value. Remember, that's our beginning. That's our y-intercept. So right off the bat, I can say, okay, well, my answer is not going to be A because it's not an initial value, and it's not going to be B because it's not an initial value. This one has that per, it's my rate, okay? So I can use that part to help me. So now I want to go and make my triangle, okay? So we want to pick 2 points. Remember, we always want to use this point, which doubles as our y-intercept. It's right there on our y-axis. It's where my graph begins. And then I want to pick another point. So if I come along my line, I'm not going to pick this first point because it doesn't find on a corner. This one falls on a corner. This one falls on a corner. And there's my corner there. Okay? So now I can use any of those 2 points to draw my triangle. And then once I have my triangle, I can count my rise over my run. Okay? I always just do my closest 2. So I'm just going to do this to this. Okay? Again, you could have done this to this, or this to this, and you'll end up getting the exact same answer. Okay? So now when I skip count, we said for my rise, this is counting by 20. So my rise is 20. Okay? Well, my run, my x-axis is just counting by ones. So 1, 2. My run is 2. Well, what is 20 divided by 2? If we check that, $20 divided by 2 gives me 10. So my slope here is 10. Okay. If you did another triangle, you might have gotten 40 divided by 4. That also is 10. Or if you did the big one, you might have gotten 60 divided by 6. That also is 10. So you would have gotten the answer 10 no matter what triangle you picked. So here we go. My slope was 10. So my gameplay grew at 10 minutes per day. My answer is D. So we just found my M equals 10. Okay. Next question asks about our y-intercept. Okay, so when we're talking about our y-intercept, now we are talking about our b, or our beginning. Okay, well, that is our initial value. It is not our rate. So I can rule these out. So now hopefully you recognize we already found the y-intercept just by looking at our graph. It's right here where my graph begins, where my graph crosses the y-axis, which is at 40. So my answer here is B equals 40. Okay. So now we're just using what we found. What is the equation of the line of best fit? We know an equation is y equals mx plus b. Well, we already found my m is 10. My b is 40. So if I plug those in, I get C. Y equals 10x plus 40. All right, my next one. Now I asked to use the equation that we found in 7. So y equals, switch colors, y equals 10x plus 40. Use that to predict the minutes of gameplay for the 10th day. Okay, well, remember when we talk about days, we're over here on our x-axis. So we're going to say, okay, well, my x is going to equal 10. So I'm literally just going to come here where my x is, and I'm going to plug in 10. So I'm going to rewrite this as 10. Remember, when we plug in, we use parentheses. 10 times 10 plus 40. Okay? So you can, now that you have it set up, some of y'all did this in your head. 10 times 10 is, plus 40 is. But if you want to use your calculator, that is perfectly fine. Come over here, your Desmos. We got 10, parentheses, 10, close parentheses, plus 40. You end up with 140, you see there. Okay? So, my answer is B, 140. Okay? All right, last one. We have our graph. We have our x-axis. We have our y-axis. Okay? My x-axis, I'm just counting by ones. My y-axis, what do we skip counting by? 3. Very good. Okay? So, I'm just writing my equation. My y equals mx plus b. Okay? Well, let's start with the easy. My y-intercept. Remember, our y-intercept is just right here. It's our b. It's where my graph begins. So, my b is 3. Okay? So now we just got to find our slope, which is our rise over our run. So we got to make a triangle. Well, we got our point here, and we got this point here, so we can do our triangle. Okay? You could have used this point here as well and done a bigger triangle. You get the same answer either way. Okay? So now when I skip count my rise, I go 3, 6. So my rise is 6. My run, counting by ones, is 1. 6 divided by 1, you should be able to do that in your head. But if you can't, you can come to your calculator. Okay? You just do 6 divided by 1. You get 6. and that gives you your answer. So here, my slope is 6. I can plug that into my equation. My final answer is y equals 6x plus 3. Okay? All right. Watch this. Make sure you've completed your study guide. Make sure you get lots of rest tonight. Make sure you eat breakfast in the morning. If you need help in the morning, I will be in my room during lunch. I will ask Mr. Cooper to play the video. You guys should be studying, but I think you guys are going to do really well. As long as you prepare, I feel like we're going to do good, okay? So, go back over this. Watch it again if you need to. Watch it again and again and again if you need to, whatever you need. But practice, practice, practice. You're going to do great. I love y'all, and I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.